Hello everyone, my name is Jose Martinez and today I'm here with the Chapter 5 assignment for my video, and I'm going to show you guys all the projects and proof that I completed them. Here we go. In Project 5-1, I installed server roles and features on my Windows Server 2019 host for the later hands-on projects such as Server for NFS, Client for NFS, File Server Resource Manager, DFS namespaces, and DFS replication. I went to Server Manager, clicked Add Roles and Features in the Manage menu, and the Select Server Roles page, I selected Server for NFS and DFS namespaces. Then I clicked DFS replication, and in the Select Features page, I selected Client for NFS. Then I installed them, and after they finished installing, I clicked Close. As you can see, I went to File and Storage Services, I installed the DFS replication, file server, DFS namespaces, and file server resource manager, as well as server for NFS. And in the Select Features page, I installed Client for NFS, as shown here. In Project 5-2, I configured my Windows Server 2019 VM2 as a member server within my Active Directory domain and installed DFS replication role within the VM2. I went to Server Manager, selected Hyper-V Manager, highlighted Windows Server 2019 VM2, clicked the settings, and highlighted Legacy Network Adapter in the Hardware section. I selected External Virtual Switch to add it to External Virtual Network, highlighted Windows Server 2019, and entered it by supplying the password for administrator. I went to Server Manager, then clicked Local Server, and then right-clicked my Ethernet, and then clicked Properties. I changed the IPv4 and the default gateway, as well as the DNS server, which is the IP address of my Windows Server 2019 host. Afterwards, I went to the Server Manager's Properties, clicked Workgroup Hyperlink. I then decided to add my domain 104.com in the text box for the domain changes. I then clicked OK, and it was successful. So then I clicked OK to restart my computer to apply new changes. After the computer rebooted, I clicked the other user. I supplied the username administrator.domainx.com and the password for the user. I then selected Don't Show This Message Again when Server Manager started up. In Server Manager, I added the DFS replication role in the Add Roles and Features menu, and after it was done, I closed Server Manager. So as you can see here in my Windows Server 2019 VM2, I'm connected to the domain104.com, and the account I'm using for this one is the administrator@domain.com. And as you can see here in the roles and features, I added one of the apps required for this. I installed the DFS replication role. For Project 5-3, I configured and verified NTFS permissions in my Windows Server 2019 host. First, I went to Start and clicked File Explorer. I then expanded this PC and high a local disk. I then added a new folder, Marketing Materials, and right-clicked Properties. In the Security tab, I went to the Advanced Settings for my window, and then click Disable Inheritance to remove all permissions from this object. In the Permissions window, I added Domain Admins and Marketing G as users who have permission to use this. I then went to the Marketing G permission entry, edited it, and then I made a new file, file1.txt, in the folder, and then made a second one called file2. In the Security tab of file2 properties, I edited it. I added Bob Burt as a user for it, who can use it, and then I exited the window. I then clicked Advanced and highlighted Effective Access. I checked both users Bob Burt and Mary Stewart. Turns out Bob Burt has all permissions denied because the permissions denied override permissions granted to Marketing G, and Mary Stewart has advanced permissions that compromise basic modify permission granted to members of the group. I closed the window, typed a command PowerShell called add AD group member identity backup operators members Marketing G to add him as a member of the backup operators built-in group. I then changed to another user in Windows Server 2019 and supplied username bburtdomain.com, and then changed password to new password 555. In File Explorer, I double-clicked File 1 to open it, typed the line of my choice, clicked the File menu, and saved. When I try to do the same with File 2, it gives me an error. And then after I closed File Explorer, I went back to my regular user, the administrator at domain.com, and added my password. As you can see here, I'm currently in the bburt account for my domain 104. When I try to enter file 1, it works fine, like this one. But when I try to enter file 2, it gives me the error message where I do not have permission to open a file. So that proves I did it correctly. Project 5-4, I enabled configured and tested file auditing on my Windows Server 2019 host. I went to the server manager and selected group policy management. Then I expanded the forest domain 14.com, domain, and domain.com. I right-clicked default domain policy and edited it. I double-clicked audit object access, and in the define policy settings menu, I selected failure. I then closed the editor, and then I clicked start to go to the file explorer and find marketing materials folder. In there, I right-clicked file 2 and selected its properties. In the security tab, it says that no auditing entries are created by default, so I added one. For the principal, I typed Marketing G, clicked OK, and then I selected Fail from the drop-down box, and Full Control Permission in the Permission section. This records failures of any permission level file 2 for members of Marketing G group. I went to the Bob Burt user in the system, selected file 2, and then it gave me an error due to denied permissions. I then signed out, clicked other user, entered my administrator account, and logged on back to the system. I went to Windows PowerShell to type get event log security entry type failure audit news 3. I don't know what that symbol is. Okay, format list. And then I pressed enter to view details of most recent 3 failed audit entries. In there, Bob Burt's failed attempt to access file 2.txt was recorded. As you can see here, I'm currently in the bbert account, so I can try the audit fail. I applied to file 2.txt, and there it is. I do not have permission to this file. I'm going to try to check the command prompt to see if it got it right. I'm going to check a Windows PowerShell command, which allows me to see how many fails I have on the bbert account. As you can see, I typed the command after doing the file to entry in the bbert account. It gives me the failure, so I went back here and typed this command to check how many fails for the command I have. So far, I counted 3 fails for trying to enter in the bbert account. In Project 5-5 attributes, I configured and test file attributes on my Windows Server 2019 host. I went to File Explorer, right-clicked File 1, changed its properties such as read-only and hidden, and in the Advanced Attributes, I selected Compressed Contents Save Disk Space. In File 1 Properties window, I know that disappears after a few moments, so I clicked the View menu and selected Hidden Items. I double-click File 1 to open Notepad, and when I click Save, it displays Save As window that allows me to save it to a different file name, because File 1 has the read-only attribute. I then proceed to click Don't Save, and change the properties of File 1 back to normal. In the Advanced Attributes, however, I selected Encrypt Contents to secure data, and the compression attribute is automatically deselected. In File Properties, I select Encrypt the file only when prompted and clicked OK. And now it has a yellow lock symbol on it. I double-clicked it to open a notepad and typed a new line of my choice. I then signed out of my regular account and changed to bbert to log into a different account. I double-click File 2 in bbert account and noticed the error message. While there, I then created a new text document, File 3, and typed in lines of my choice and saved it. For the properties, I changed it to Encrypt Contents Secure Data and Encrypt File Only Prompted. I then signed out of the bbert account and entered my administrator account. In there, I went to File 3, and I can still access it even though Bob Burt encrypted it. Turns out, in the Advanced window, it's noted that administrators list a recovery agent within domain by default. Therefore, I can bypass the security. I right-clicked File 1, clicked Properties, and clicked Advanced. In the window, I clicked Details and added user access to bbertdomainx.com and allowed him to access File 1 using EFS. I then closed File Explorer afterwards. As you can see, the files have the lock icons on them, meaning they're encrypted. So let's check their properties real quick. Okay, that one's encrypted. And in details, I added user access file 3, bbert, domain104.com. And I think for file 1, I added something else. Okay, yeah, there's administrator and bbert. Look what happens when I select it to read only and hidden. Watch. Disappears. The only reason it's still here is because I have the view hidden files. So if I deselect all that, it's back to normal. Simple as that. Project 5-6. I share folders using SMB and FS. First, I went to Marketing Materials folder, changed the sharing properties by selecting Share this folder. In permissions, I selected full control for everyone, and caching, I noted that manual offline caching is enabled by default. After closing File Explorer, I type server X marketing materials in the run dialog box, and it gives me these files when I finish typing it. I then created a new folder called marketing templates, changed the security by disabling inheritance, and the permissions for the folder, I typed both domain admins and marking G. In the NFS sharing tab, I clicked Manage NFS Sharing, selected Share this folder, and then I clicked Permissions from Read Only to Read Write. I then closed File Explorer again and then created a file4.txt file in the Marking Templates folder. I then typed server X marking templates in run dialog box, and it gives me access to the folder using NFS. In Hyper-V Manager, on my Windows Server 2019 host, I entered VM2 again, except this time as administrator at domain.com, and created marketing materials on that computer as well. In the properties, I disabled inheritance for security, and then edited permissions by adding domain admins and marking G again. I gave them full control and modify, respectively. In the advanced sharing window, I selected Share this folder, and note that everyone has a Read Shared Folder permission by default. I then selected Full Control again, ran the name of the computer and marking materials, and it gives me the folder in VM2. It gives me access, but there are no contents due to no files being made on this marketing materials folder to begin with. As you can see, when I run server 104 marketing materials, it gives me files 1, 2, and 3, due to it giving me permission to access this folder on the network. Now, when I try to run the marking templates instead, due to it being enabled by the NFS, it also gives me permission as shown here, file 4. In my Windows VM2, within my Windows Server 2019 host, I run this command, the name of my computer and marking materials, and it doesn't have any files currently because, well, I haven't made any files for it yet. But I will do it in the next few hands-on projects. Project 5-7, I create DFS namespace shared folder to provide access to both marking materials and templates shared folders, as well as configure DFS replication for the marking materials folder on my Windows Server 2019 host and VM2 virtual machine. I first went to Server Manager, selected DFS Management, and in the namespace wizard, I created Server X as brand new server for the namespace. After I finished making it, I expanded namespaces and highlighted domain.com warehouse. For properties, I enabled access-based enumeration for the namespace and added a new folder called ServerX Marking Templates, as well as a new one called ServerX Marketing Materials. In the Marketing Materials folder, I also added the Marketing Materials other folder from the VM2, which is the name of my VM2 virtual machine. When prompted to configure replication group, I clicked yes. And the wizard, I selected Server X as the primary member for this. And after I was done, I created the replication group page. In navigation pane, I expanded replication and domain system volume. The sysvol share is shown with the DFS management console because my system is a domain controller, and in replication, I highlighted domain.com warehouse market materials and noted the two paths, both the Windows Server and VM2. I highlighted marketing materials path Server X and clicked Properties, and the Connections tab I selected Server X and replicated it. I checked the schedule for replication, and it shows that it occurs all times of the day. After closing DFS management, I ran domainx.com/warehouse and clicked OK. It gives me access to marketing materials and marketing templates. I double-clicked marketing materials and I can access files 1, 2, and 3. In the warehouse navigation bar file manager, I double-click marketing templates and I have access to file 4. I clicked run again and ran name marketing materials for the VM2. And I know the files 1, 2, and 3 available because they're replicated from marketing materials share on Server X using DFS. As you can see here in DFS management, I have the two namespaces, marketing materials and marketing templates, as shown here. And for the replicated folder marketing materials and 2 items, I have both the Windows Server 2019 regular and the VM2 within the Windows Server computer. I have both of these enabled. As you can see, domain 104 warehouse marketing materials, I have access to files 1, 2, and 3. In marketing templates, I have access to file 4 in domain 104 warehouse as well. And for the Windows Server 2019 VM2, which was connected to DFS replication as well, I also have access to files 1, 2, and 3 because they were replicated. Project 5-8 Quotas and File Screens, I'll explore configuration of user quotes, folder quotas, and file screens. I first check the properties of my local disk and then highlighted the quota tab within the local disk properties and enabled quota management. I deny disk space users exceeding quota limit, log event when it exceeds it, and log when it exceeds the warning level. I clicked OK for the warning and then went to Server Manager. In Server Manager, I went to Tools and selected File Server Resource Manager. In there, I went to Quota Management and highlighted Quota Templates. I then clicked Quotas and created my own quota called C Marking Templates in Quota Path. And for custom properties, I selected 2 GB as the limit. After clicking Create, I then typed Marketing Quota as the template name in text box. And then I expanded File Screen Management and highlighted File Groups. In File Screen Templates, I checked different default templates for screens available. In File Screens, I created a new one for marking templates in the quota path text box. In the properties, I know the active screening is default type, and I selected all file groups except for Office files and clicked OK. In the Save Custom Properties, I typed Marking Screen as the template name, and then closed File Server Resource Manager and Server Manager windows. Last but not least, I went to this PC local disk and highlight marking templates. Note that file4.txt is available as it was created prior to applying the file screen. But when I try to click a new item text document, it gives me an error saying destination folder access denied. In the file server resource manager, I have marketing templates in the marketing quota. One item, it's 2 gigabytes, and it's a hard quota type. If we go to file screens, I have the marketing templates file screen active to block most types of files except Word documents, I think. Let me check. Turns out the only files this allows are the Office files, Microsoft Office files only. So I'm currently in the marketing templates folder of local disk, and look what happens when I try to add the text document. It denies access for me adding it due to like the changes made in the quotas. The quota settings, I mean. Hello everyone. Thank you all for watching this video. My name is Jose Martinez, and yeah, I'll see you all when I work on chapters 10 and 11. Until then, I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.